Intermediate Self-Improvement 10. Siafang. Translation edited by Chinyu. 11. Becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world. The term external world refers to the material world, while oneself refers to self-consciousness. Becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world is a high-level spiritual state or an actual celestial realm that those with great wisdom and insight can reach. This state has 3 levels. 1. Completion of intermediate self-improvement. At this level, one has understood the 36 dimensions of space and gained knowledge about the mutual dynamics of the positive and negative universes. One has understood the meaning, purpose, and value of life, recognizing that human life is just a phase in the transformation of the spiritual body. It becomes clear that all material pursuits are not only futile but also harmful. The source of all human suffering comes from self-consciousness. Desires, needs, and pursuits of the self, as well as the self's criteria for judging right or wrong, all lead to sadness, depression, heartbreak, anxiety, fear, misfortune, trouble, and pain. Only by letting go of material things, abandoning self-consciousness, and living in accordance with nature, can one achieve the best life. 2. Recognition of the material world. One realizes and sees that the entire material world is just an illusion or a facade of the non-material world. Life is but a fleeting moment, though it has its beautiful aspects, it is ultimately too short. Striving and seeking material gains in this brief moment is utterly foolish. Undoubtedly, the final outcome of all possessions is having nothing. Only by completely abandoning the concept of materiality can one avoid being confused and bound by the surface phenomena of the material world. Only by forgetting the self can one follow the Tao, transcend time and space, unite with the Tao, achieve a celestial spiritual body, and enter eternal time and space. 3. Understanding life's multilayered forms. One knows that the forms of life are multilayered. The visible forms perceived by humans are temporary, whereas the invisible forms are permanent. What humans consider illusory is actually real, and what they consider real is actually illusory. Viewing from different spatial dimensions reveals different forms of life. Only by using the thinking of gods and Buddhas, becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world, and adopting unconventional thinking can one elevate life to a higher form. Becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world is the highest level of intermediate self-improvement and the lowest level of advanced self-improvement. How to verify if one has reached the state of becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world? When frequent wars and human suffering on earth do not affect you, when the death of a loved one brings no sadness, when losing all your possessions and facing bankruptcy leaves you unfazed, and when facing death brings no fear, you have reached the state of becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world. At this point, you have little humanity left. When you feel completely comfortable, your mind extremely relaxed, flying through celestial realms you have never visited, when you don't know where you came from and have forgotten your past, even seeing your parents doesn't overly excite you, when you see no hunger, poverty or wealth, nobility or lowliness, disease, death, or private property, when you don't understand concepts like possession, construction, destruction, truth, beauty, goodness, falsehood, evil, ugliness, dignity, or safety, and can't distinguish between you, me, and them, and everything seems so beautiful, wonderful, unrestricted, and exhilarating, when you no longer feel the existence of time, with no distinction between day and night, you have reached the state of becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world. In reality, your physical body has died, and you have arrived in the 1,000-year world or the 10,000-year world. At the point of becoming unconscious of the boundary between oneself and the external world, you have attained the nature of Buddha.